Hola amigos de Opeslatino, nuevamente en una sesión muy interesante que por primera vez vamos a hacer completamente en inglés. Hoy tengo el gusto de contar con Luis Fernando Moreno Miquilena. Es un venezolano oriundo de la ciudad de Cumaná, estado Sucre, Venezuela. Vive desde hace muchos años en Estados Unidos, en el estado de Minnesota, donde ha llevado a cabo una labor social, una labor de líder comunitario, una labor de líder corporativo comunitario para contribuir con la inmigración no solamente venezolana, sino latinoamericana en ese estado y en el país. Bienvenido, Luis, a Opeslatino.
Muchas gracias, Gerardo. Encantado de estar aquí en tu programa. Gracias por la invitación.
Opeslatino, talento global competitivo. Plataforma de lanzamiento y estímulo para el desarrollo del talento humano latinoamericano en el mundo. Nuestro objetivo es la identificación y promoción de quienes hacen la diferencia con su talento y contribución de alto impacto. Con valiosos invitados, quienes serán los protagonistas de este espacio especialmente diseñado para la orientación y motivación. Suscríbete a nuestro canal en YouTube, Opeslatino, Talento Global Competitivo. Un espacio conducido por Gerardo Henriquez. Opeslatino, Talento Global Competitivo.
Ok, Luis, como hemos prometido, vamos a hacer un switch al inglés a partir de este momento y nos despedimos al final también en español, ¿te parece?
Claro, gracias.
Okay, Luis, I would like to introduce a little bit about Opeslatino, okay? It's the first time, as I mentioned at the beginning, that we are gonna broadcast this kind of interviews in English. So, first of all, I would like to introduce Luis, the profile he has. Luis Moreno is a highly energetic business and community leader with a strong passion for education and personal and professional development. Luis is a strong ambassador for education and economic development. He constantly visits schools, colleges, and universities to talk with educators and students about new ideas to improve education. Luis' passion for improving the economy conditions and opportunities for professionals has taken him to join leadership roles in employee resources groups and diversity networks. Ecola, General Mills, Lands of Lakes, and General Electric. Luis' efforts have translated into very positive outcomes, including the co-creation of the Twin Cities Business Peer Network, which allows students and professionals to connect for professional and personal development, career and business opportunities. And I am very honored to have you, a Venezuelan, a Latin guy that has been participating very actively during the last years in this territory in the Americas. Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, so Luis, there is a lot to talk about you. I had not only the honor, but I feel lucky to have been established this contact through one mutual friend of us in Venezuela, Modesto Vázquez, remember? So thank you, Modesto. By the way, my regards to you.
Modesto.
First of all, I would like to introduce a little bit, or to remember a little bit about how, what is the approach of Opeslatino in terms of the talent development. Opeslatino has two special goals. One goal is inspiration, to inspire new talent, the new generations of talent in the Latin environment, to develop their skills, to develop their impact, not only in the places where they're born, but around the world. And the second goal is to promote that talent. So let's start with the first one. Luis, how did you discover you have a talent for what you do in terms of being a social leader, a social influencer?
Thank you so much, Gerardo. You know that it was interesting that people would come to me and tell me At work, for example, in the 2008 economic downturn, people were, losing their jobs, and people will come to me and say, hey, I'm going to resign. And, why are you going to resign? I just, want to take some time off to be with the family. And I would say, but, really, but, you're not married, you don't have kids. So it was, and then I said, well, if you need any help, I can help you. And yeah, Luis, please, do help me. And it was what I realized that a lot of great, very talented people, because of the, as organizations were optimizing, they were ended up outside of a job. And it was really hard for them to be able to ask for help because they didn't know how to be vulnerable. And I found that just by establishing a personal relationship and connecting with people, from the heart and with the understanding that, hey, bad things happen to good people too. It's all right. I don't admire you or I don't respect you because of the title that you have or because you have a job or not, but I rather admire you and respect you and like you because the person that you are. If you're a good person, then I'll be there to help you regardless of whether you have a job or not. And so I started to recognize that I had that kind of soft spot. And in fact, I learned that while other people were always so, attracted to like the winners, the champions, the best of the best, I actually had a soft spot in my heart for the underdog. So when I saw that people were struggling, when I saw that people were just working hard to achieve something, it was taking them longer, I really got activated by that. I really got a thrill and excitement. It made me really happy. I got joy just by joining in with people that were trying to go somewhere.
There was someone influencing your current role or your current role modeling that you remember makes a difference in your life, that helps you to realize I am good for this, I can do this.
So many people have influenced me in my life. Somebody that has somebody whose message has really influenced me in my life is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And one of the things that I liked about him was that he talked about this idea of empathy, which was that he said that if an injustice is an injustice to someone is an injustice for all. So basically that concept that we can't really live our life only caring about something that is unfair to us directly or to our direct relatives, but we have to care about an injustice that is done to anyone. So when something is not right, it's not okay to be okay with what's not okay. If something is not okay, regardless of who it is not okay for, we need to do something about it. We need to interject.
Right, great source of inspiration. Let's go to the second question. That is going to be, I'm going to start that second question for a challenge that I have a lot of curiosity to discuss with you. The second question is regarding precisely about challenging. It's very fancy, it's very nice to have somebody that is influencing, that is a Venezuelan, is a Latin guy, and is influencing not only in the talent in the Latin society, but I can observe that you are talking to different kinds of Americans. So when I see that is very, very nice to me. But I imagine that it's not that easy to develop that kind of influence. And I will wonder how that kind of influence and how that kind of impact is born. You arrived how many years ago to the United States, Luis?
Over 20 years, so in the late 90s. I came in the late 90s.
20 years. Please tell us a little bit about how was that entry into the United States. Today, we have a lot of Venezuelans migrating to the United States, a lot of Latin people migrating to the United States. And when I arrived here, even when I arrived with a profession, with a company supporting me, etc., I said, well, how I can contribute? A part of my job, how more I can do for this society. I would like you to talk a little bit about how was that starting in the United States and how that starting takes you to what you are doing today, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Gerardo. You are right. It is not easy. It has been very difficult, and it has taken a long time. I remember, so I'll tell you some of those challenges. The first challenge that was interesting is that, we are more and more in the world, I think our societies are training and conditioning people to be very focused on themselves, very self-centered. So when I started here many years ago, and I started my career in my job, I would tell, other colleagues, and I say, hey, I want to create this organization to help other people. And people would always tell me, many people would tell me, no, you gotta focus on yourself. Like, forget about the rest of, if you wanna do well in your career, if you wanna succeed, if you wanna get to the top, don't focus on other people. Focus on yourself. And I got that message constantly. So that wasn't very encouraging for me for the things that I wanted to do, because what I wanted to do was to help other people succeed. And I found that many people would struggle with that concept, because the idea was, like in the plane, right? Like, if you have a mask, put your mask first before you would help other people. And I agree with that. You got to put your mask first, but then once you have your mask, you have to immediately go and help other people get their masks as well. And I think that so that was the first part, the concept again of empathy. But I thought in my heart that because people tell me, Luis, you got to focus on being successful. Focus on being successful. You got to be successful. But what was it? And we all agree, yeah, it's amazing, it's great to be successful. But where we did not agree was what success meant, right? Because I found it hard in my head and in my heart to think of success by me alone. Like, if I was just moving up to the top by myself and not helping others, in my heart, that was really not a real success. But what I found was that there was a lot of research, literature that would say, well, people that are very, very successful, they get to be CEOs, the head of their companies, and yet after they retire, then they go back, to the community saying, hey, here I am. I just finished working now. Here I am. Open up a space for me on the table. And people were like, no, we have our own thing going on here already. Because it's like, yeah, while over the past 30 years, while you were all focused on your job and doing well and getting to be a CEO, we here in the community, we've been planting plants, we've been painting houses, and we have this thing going on, and it's just it's not as easy for people to now break in and say, yeah, sorry, I took a break for 30 years, but now I am back. So what that told me is that you really should not do that. You should not dedicate all 30 years only to working and then coming back and then trying to reintegrate into the community, but rather do both at the same time. So in my head was like how to find that balance where I was okay with at work, maybe being a B and an A here and there, but kind of more of a positive average across all of the things that I was involved in, so that when I later in life, when I retire, I won't need to get reincorporated into the community, because I have always been with the community throughout all my life.
It's not a place that you gain from one day to the other, correct?
Exactly.
It's not something that you realize, I already retired, now I am gonna work in the social environment.
If I can share something quick here with you. So I have some friends that are recruiters, and they are trying to recruit people for boards of nonprofit organizations that are doing great work for the communities. And you have resumes of people that have done amazing things. They've gone to Ivy League schools and they have done amazing in their jobs, all of their success. They've grown companies, that they've done everything. But they struggle finding a way to see, how is this person really going to care for the community? If I read this resume, there isn't really anything about the community in here. So, and you have it that, you have boards of very, very smart people that have amazing ideas, but they have not really had the time to develop relationships and an understanding of diverse communities, so they can develop solutions that are actually not great solutions, but these solutions may benefit some communities more than others. So it creates an imbalance, and it's not because that person intentionally wants to exclude the others, is that those other people are not in their heads because they haven't spent the time to go out there to spend time with them.
There is like a common understanding in the Latin American community in the United States, and not only in the United States, but everywhere where the Latin American community arrives, about the fact that you don't have a worse enemy when you arrive to a country as a Latin American than the other Latin Americans. When I observe the other different communities, Arabics, Asian people, American, African people, all of them, the Jews, all of them are very united. Yeah. All of them collaborate each other. So I think what we can do to contribute with everybody, but even more with the people that are coming from our roots, is important. And I don't know, as I mentioned at the beginning, I don't know if this is a myth or is a real stuff. And the main thing is, how do you think we could be in position to change that? And how have you been doing something to change that?
Thank you, Gerardo. Actually, I don't think it's a myth. It's a reality. And first, I'll start by congratulating you for doing this program, because this is an example of what we have to do, which is to honor and celebrate and help elevate others. And so, two things. One of the things is that I always say that from an empathy standpoint, we have to learn to develop the ability to be interested in somebody else's something, so that our efforts and our energy cannot be only to always support ourselves, but rather also think about, what can I do for others? How can I help others, especially if those others are of my same community? And you are a great example of doing that, because this show is the very testament, it's a testimonial of trying to elevate other people of your own community. So I thank you for that. And the example that I want to share with you is that, we buy a lot of clothes, and so we buy clothes and then we want to recycle those and donate those clothes, and one day I was like thinking to myself, these are really nice clothes, so I should really go and donate these clothes to a Latino organization. Then if I want my clothes to go to them, because if they look better, I will look better too, because I am like them. Obviously, if they have better clothes, they're going to look better. But I also want them to look better by being more educated, by having a better understanding of the world, by being trained, by being developed. So a lot of training and developing that I've done for many community, or the Latino community, and for many Latinos, has actually been as a courtesy. So I've done it for free. So I've spent time, and I would go, into just Latino schools and talk with them, because if they get inspired and they do better, and instead of doing something bad, going on the street and having a bad idea, if I can help to motivate them to actually enroll in school, in college, and study, and be citizens of to do well and to do good, then that actually helps us all.
So can you tell me which other challenge you have been facing in the road to achieve all this penetration and establishment that you already has, as clearly we can observe in the Minnesota state community?
Sure, mistrust. So it's interesting because, like I said earlier, that we're all conditioned to work about ourselves and be focused on ourselves and what is it about, what's in there for me. For example, when we founded the Twin Cities Business Peer Network, the organization would say, hey, we invite you to be part of this organization. We're gonna, do events. I'm gonna help you with, and how much is the membership? I say, no, it's free. Oh, is it free for the first year? No, is it free? It's free, like it's free. It's free, always free, right? Because it was hard for people to believe that someone would do something for them without having something in exchange, right? And it actually, so I always, that is something that, worries me or concerns me. When I realize that someone is under that perception that the only way that someone would help somebody else is because they want something in exchange, it worries me, because the reality is that there are many people in the world that would do a lot for you. And we have people in the military that are risking their lives every day, men and women of our armed forces for all countries, that they literally every day they wake up, they put their boots, their uniforms, and they go out to fight for their countries, even risking their own lives. And they're doing it because, it's a patriotic sentiment. So in that same way, there are people who would save somebody else that is drowning, right? So you jump in the water, in the current, and risk their lives because they want to save somebody else. And it's real. So we have to believe. I think, to work against mistrust is we need to believe.
You said that basically for you to be trusted, you need to trust the other ones. Is basically the message, no?
Absolutely. And on that note, quickly, Gerardo, one of the things in our trainings that we do is we train people to learn to give. But we also say that, generosity is not only about giving, but it's also about learning to receive. Because some people say, I'm a great person. When people come to me and they offer me something, I never take it. I never receive anything from anybody. So I am a very good person. And I always tell people that being a good person is not only about learning to give, but it's also learning to receive, because it is in that giving and receiving that you're forming those bonds, those bonds and those relationships. So like when you say, no, sorry, I don't take that. It's fine. You don't have to do that and stuff. You think you're doing something good because I don't have to spend whatever money I was going to spend, but actually you're not, because you're actually blocking the flow of this, so I'm opening my heart to you. I want to come closer to you. I want to develop a relationship and a bond with you. So then we have to learn also to receive.
Well, we are passing then to the third part of the interview, which is to describe a little bit how has been your legacy. So I would like to know what you have to show us in terms of achievement, which from all those recognitions that you have received, which are the main ones, which are the main achievements you think you have today to show? And the second question related to that one is, what is the next? What is your agenda for the future? What you would like to do, etc. So let's talk about that. Achievement, legacy, and next goals.
Thank you so much. First, I'll tell you that one recognition that was very meaningful to me was, I've been part for many years of an organization that, used to be called National Society of Hispanic MBAs, NASHIMBA, which has been renamed to now be Prospanica. And I was very involved I've been very involved with that organization more in the past than now. But one day I received a call and they said, hey, Luis, you have been named a member of the year for NASHIMBA. And when I went to receive the award, they had a very nice, event, a gala ceremony. And I went up, to the stage, got the award. They had some very nice, words. And when I come back to the table, my kids, they said, Daddy, I want to have it. I want to have the award. And they want to have it in their hands. And they wanted to touch it. And they said, Daddy, this is what you do. This is, now it's like, now I understand, those evening, when you were not with us at the table, having dinner with us, that's where you were, you were out there. So it was very, very nice and very meaningful. And then, I think that for me, it has been just to go out, with a good heart, helping people. And I want to tell you a story, is that my dad, unfortunately, was diagnosed with cancer, and he lived for a long time even after the diagnosis. But eventually, at the end of his life, he was living down in Venezuela, in Merida. My dad was a very accomplished man, a very accomplished doctor, and it was always for me and my siblings. We worked really hard because we wanted to show to him that, hey, we too, we want to make you proud. And so when I went there, I wanted to share with him, hey, Dad, I'm working for this, one of the largest companies in the world. This is a global company. I am managing a business of, it's over $1 billion. My clients are this, and that. And, so I was just like, wow, I want you to be so, impressed and proud of me, right? And then, we were like in passing, I just commented to him, hey, Dad, that we created this organization, and we just help people to find jobs, and we do trainings, free training for them to get better and to grow as, professionally and personally. And, so I told him just like a commentary, right? Like a comment. And then, so one of those evenings, he had a reception where, his colleagues, very successful doctors, were meeting him. And he calls me and says, so he says to his friends, oh, I want to introduce you to my son, Luis Fernando. And so he calls me, hey, son, come here. And then he says, to the people, I'm so proud of my son. Let me tell you he's amazing. Let me tell you what he's been doing. I'm just ready for him to tell him that I'm, managing this, $1 billion business for a global company. And then he goes, he's a great person because he is helping other people that are looking for jobs. He and his friends are, reviewing resumes. They're doing mock interviews. They are doing all this professional training. And I think like my heart stopped because I was like, wow, for a person so accomplished in his life, that got to do so many things, that got to top of his field. And he's meeting in the opportunity at the end of his life in sharing with his colleagues that what he chose to talk about and what he chose to showcase of his son and why he was proud of me had nothing to do with whether, finances, big company, brand, nothing. What was important to him was that I am having a good heart to help my people, to help my community, to help those around us. So it gave me a lesson that happened many years ago, and I remember, every time I go out, I go with a message that what we do for others is really very important, and we have to do more.
Wonderful message, Luis, and thank you for sharing with us this great summary of what is a high impact achievement in the social environment. I connect with your other thought about that because I wonder myself if it will be very sad for a professional to being working 30, 35, 40 years in a company or in the corporate sector without being other things than a successful businessman. Because at the end of the day, when you retire, that businessman is not gonna be remembered by anybody. Probably for the colleagues, the few colleagues that are in touching, the companies normally do not have memory, but the society, they have memory. So that reflection comes up to my mind when you talk about your father savior approach, and when I connect that with what you said in my previous question.
And you bring up a very important point in that, in what do people remember? In our training, when we train on emotional intelligence, and we ask them in terms of, we say, think about a leader in your life that has an impact in you. That is something that you remember, right? So think of a leader that you remember and why. We've done that for years. I am yet to hear somebody that says, I remember when the leader X, Y, and Z doubled sales or increased sales by 20% or whatever, grew the business or, I don't know, strengthened the finances of the company. Always been about how those people make them better, how they train them, how, they learn something, life lesson. And the stories have been just amazing and beautiful stories that I've heard for over so many years that never has to do, like you were saying, it's not about because somebody was great at the financials in the corporation and with a business plan and strategy. Those are the things that really stay in people's minds because they're personally meaningful. And that's what we need to do more of.
That's great. Well, before we go to the next question, I would like to emphasize and remember our followers to register in our channel, Opeslatino, that you can see here in the characters. I invite you to register to contribute with with the project we are developing. So Opeslatino in YouTube, in Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Opeslatino. So the final question for you, Luis, is about next steps. Which are the next projects you are carrying out, and the invitation you can do for others to follow your projects, your agenda, your events that I know there are a lot.
Thank you for your kindness and generosity, and thank you for following the post and always having a reaction and liking, sharing, commenting is very appreciated. My message, so what's next for me is we've been just going out and reaching out to people with the message of human-centered leadership, emotional intelligence. It's about bringing that humanity into the workplace so that we can really make our workplaces more human. If you're having great, financial results, great strategic results, how we're going out to share with people some techniques on how you can also impact people in a way that is really connecting on the human side. So I'm very encouraged and that more and more people are contacting me. So when I'll tell you, when I started this work a number of years ago, so it was hard for people to really understand what this work was about. And, many people around the world that has a fascination and a passion for this work like I do have had a hard time. We have had a hard time to convince people that this is really the way of the future, to have a more human world. That I'm getting is people that are actually recognizing and are even appreciating and thanking this work, because and generationally, the new generation, like the younger people that are joining the workforce, this is more important for them, which is to be able to have a life that is well balanced. And I am convinced that this will happen, that we're going to get in a place in the future where more and more organizations are going to be interested in hiring leaders and hiring people and bringing people, not only because the talent that they have in terms of technical knowledge that they have about a certain field, but also who are they as people, what kind of heart do they have, how do they treat others, what are what's in their hearts in terms of how they want to impact other people. Because the better the people that we bring into our organization, the better the work environments that we're going to have, and interestingly enough, the better the productivity.
Great, Luis. Well, we have arrived to the end of this conversation. As I mentioned at the beginning, Luis, we are doing today something different that we haven't done in the past, and it's developing the interview in English. Let's transmit the final message in Spanish for the Spanish community, de manera que vamos a cambiar a español, ¿no? Me gustaría que dieras tu mensaje final de esta sesión, que te agradezco mucho haber aceptado participar en español.
Bueno, primero quiero empezar con un mensaje para ti, que es para decirte que estás haciendo un gran trabajo, que me encanta lo que estás haciendo, que lo que estás haciendo es buenísimo para la comunidad, para nosotros los latinos, que estamos, y yo soy uno de tus seguidores y me encanta el trabajo que haces, y es muy lindo ver cómo personas de nuestra comunidad se han esforzado y han trabajado duro para poder mejorarse, para crecer profesionalmente y personalmente y dar un aporte a la comunidad. Y me encanta que tú estés ahí para celebrarlos y que lo hagas de corazón y que hayas involucrado a tu familia tan hermosa que está haciendo este trabajo contigo. Y creo que tiene un impacto increíble. Y para todos tus seguidores, les digo que sigan siempre adelante, no importa los obstáculos que tengan. Es importante que como personas siempre se centren en qué es lo que importa más, qué es lo que importa más para nosotros. Y lo que importa más para nosotros es que seamos personas íntegras, que nos sintamos bien con nosotros mismos, y que es importante ser un buen trabajador. Es importante si eres un ingeniero, un médico, un abogado, un artista, un albañil, o lo que importa, que no importa lo que hagas,
lo importante, bueno, primero obviamente que lo hagas lo mejor que puedas, pero lo más importante que podemos ser, la contribución más significativa que le podemos dar al mundo es ser una buena persona. Y es ser un buen amigo, ser un buen amigo no solamente para los demás amigos y para la gente, sino ser un buen amigo para nuestros propios familiares, para nuestras parejas, para nuestros hijos, para nuestros padres, hacer lo que podamos para ser una mejor persona, porque mientras mejores seamos, nuestra contribución para el mundo durante nuestras vidas va a tener un impacto mayor y va a ser más significativa. Así que bueno, muchas gracias, Gerardo, te quiero mucho, te aprecio mucho y te doy las gracias por tu amistad.
Muchas gracias a ti, me siento muy honrado de que hayamos podido tener esta conversación y espero que no sea la última, ni mucho menos, será una serie de invitaciones que haremos y siéntete también en libertad de invitarme o de pedirme cualquier colaboración que podamos hacer desde mi espacio personal y desde el espacio de Opeslatino, que dicho sea de paso, no solamente está involucrada una parte de mi familia, sino también un equipo de latinoamericanos muy relevantes que aparecen en los créditos de estas sesiones, de estos videos que se ven en YouTube. Entonces, para ellos también un reconocimiento y una apreciación de parte de todos los que formamos Opeslatino.
Gracias y felicitaciones para todos en el equipo. Excelente trabajo, me encanta.
Bueno, hasta la vista, Luis. Un gran abrazo y que sigan tus logros y tus éxitos, porque tus éxitos y logros son el impacto que está teniendo hoy en día en la sociedad latinoamericana presente en Estados Unidos, especialmente en Minnesota. A cuidarse mucho, a seguir en casa y a restringirse a la distancia social que tanto es importante mantener en este tiempo.
Un abrazo. Gracias, Gerardo. Saludos para todos. Muchas gracias. Nos vemos pronto.
Opeslatino, talento global competitivo.